interactive sort of day. So we're going to do bits of co-design that will require you to speak up, go off mic, I mean off mute and onto mic. And we're going to have you type into the chat box. We're also going to get you to fill in some surveys. So if you have your phone to hand, that might be useful for taking pictures of a QR code, which will quickly bring up a survey, and then you can fill it in on your phone. Alternatively, I will be posting the links as we do surveys. And then there's another co-design bit of technology we're going to use called a Miro board. And we're going to use the most basic of these elements, which is writing in a post-it note and attaching it to a graphic on your screen. And most of these things, in fact, all of these things, you won't need to download software for. It won't be very difficult, but it'll enable us to work through how to collect data and information from multiple people and then surface all the common themes. So let me just take us to the agenda. Bear with me. So I wanted to just talk about the ethic of co-design. The whole idea is just the intent is to be helpful, to do your best. We want you to contribute, so we expect you to tell it like it is. There's no point in this being like a market research group where you need positive reinforcement of stuff. This is like warts and all, what's your experience of this? At the same time, we want respect between each of us as co-designers. You know, listen to people, answer questions, let people finish. And then, as importantly, is in order for us to have structure, it needs to be timed. And in order for it not to become boring or clogged, we need to keep to a timed environment. So, as we do co design activities, I'm going to allocate a certain amount of time, advise you when we're nearing that time completion. And it, and then if that's not 100% complete, well, we can go back to it. All information in this session is provided with the intent to help us better engage and educate and motivate farmers around open woodland restorations with respect to their environmental benefits. So we have this process that we're looking at, which is like, how do we engage farmers in open woodland restoration? And we have looked at a social benefits call to action. This session, we're looking at an environmental benefits call to action. Next month, we're looking at the financial benefits and the call to action. And then in May, we're going to be looking at productivity benefits and the call to action of open woodland restoration. Now, attending today, I hope you can still see my screen as I've moved across. We can see that people have identified that are in this co-design session. We had about 30 ticket sales, a bit over that, that 12 of them consider themselves early adopters and four of themselves pioneers. And that's self-assessment of where they are on the adoption curve. If you look at the people that have applied, the benefits, as you would expect, since we've been promoting this around co-design of the environmental benefits, it's the reason that most people are here. But social benefits, productivity, and financial benefits were still listed as primary reasons for people being here, even though we only tried to promote the environmental benefits. We can see that from this group of co-designers, Landcare, then New South Wales Farmers Association, and down through the different channels, tells us where did the interest come from. And then if you ask that, well, what benefit were they interested in and how did they hear about us? It starts to show things like Landcare, which produced most of the people, had an interest in environment and productivity, far less so social benefits. When you go to someone like New South Wales Farmers Association, financial benefits pop up, productivity benefits pop up, and environmental benefits are less, even though this co-design is about environmental benefits. So, to get more of an idea of who is in the room will be the next thing we do. Then I'm going to talk you through what Open Woodlands Restoration is. Then we'd like help with co-designing, particularly around the website and the content that's in there. And then what we believe is like a first step piece of collateral that's useful is a snapshot, a way of being able to show farmers what they're eligible for, what their carbon sequestration is, what their biodiversity condition score is. Then after the co-design using Miro and shouting out our different opinions, we're going to do a final survey on the hierarchy of benefits. So, what matters to you as a co-designer? What do you think matters to the farmers? And then we're talking about the next steps with this project and how you can access grants to take a snapshot into a feasibility project. So, if you could grab your phones and on the screen, you'll see a QR code. And if you put your camera on, that will take you to a form. There's only a couple of questions. Now, if you don't have the form or a phone, I'm just about to drop into the chat a link that you can use to go directly into the form and we'll fill out who's in the room. So I make that there's 13 of us online, and I think we need maybe only 5 minutes to complete this form. So at 12:44, we'll come back to the agenda. And I'll be watching as we're going to see as those results come in as to who's in the room. Great. Thank you, everybody. It's great to see Amber, Peter, Joe, Rowan, Christoph, James, and thank you for completing that. I don't think we'll even have to wait till 12:44. That's like 8 of you done. All right. Um, what we'd like to do, if it's all right with you, go back to this presentation, is now bring to mind, and any time we save here, we can get back, which is great. What are we talking about with open woodland restoration? Well, for too long, we've in Australia arrived in a continent that was unfamiliar to Europeans, and we didn't know how to deal with that. And we reduced what is a very complex environment to a very simple equation, where we contended that there isn't a lot of rainfall in Australia by comparison to Europe, and that trees and grasses must be competing for that rainfall per 100 mils. And so that sort of reductionist scientific view of a very complex environment led to basically 200 years of land clearing policy. It is only since we've started to have science-backed research that actually shows there's a sweet spot where productivity is improved and biodiversity is improved, where trees and grasslands operate in an open woodland structure. Too few trees in the environment has problems with erosion, desiccation, biodiversity, habitat loss. Too many trees in an environment does reduce pasture productivity, creates shade, creates monocultures of trees that are highly flammable and have their own sets of issues. An open woodland, however, can qualify both as boxgum grassy woodlands habitat, which is a threatened ecological community, and for carbon credits if it's restored using, a particular method that we refer to as open woodland restoration. Now, the idea of that method is fairly simple. It's to direct seed a mix of local species, usually acacias and eucalypts, that are a tram track design. So you've got two direct seated paths 4 meters apart, and then a 15 to 20 meter gap before another 4 meter direct seated tram track, another 15 to 20 meter gap, and another 4 meter direct seated. Now, what that does is by putting the seeds out in that microclimate, the right trees will establish to according to that microclimate. And you will get, succession. Wattles will start first and then the eucalypts will push them out. But interestingly, under this design, it's going to achieve the requirements under the carbon legislation that you have 20% canopy cover and trees reach 2 meters tall or greater. And at that point, you've changed the economics for a lot of restoration of overcleared land to becoming restored land, open woodland that has both productivity, biodiversity, and carbon benefits. And so, we're looking towards how do we take this idea into an adoption curve with farmers. So we've seen examples, pioneering examples of the first few farmers that have been doing this in the Southern Tablelands. And that was an event we held at February 26, a month ago, in person and online in Goulburn, where we heard from Jeff Kay and James Campbell and Chris Comore about their open woodland restoration projects. But this session, what we're looking at isn't, the social benefits of having a farmer-led, ground-up discovered intervention that sort of works on these multiple levels. We're not exploring every level. Today, we're going to look at environmental benefits. And to do that, we want to be able to share with you some information and get your feedback. So the first bit of co-design, we'd like you to actively do this. So you can see on screen is a URL called openwoodlandrestoration.com. And what we'd like you to do is come off your mute and actually talk to us and tell us what is it that makes sense or doesn't make sense that you'd want to remove or replace or add. We want you to think about like what's missing. Would you react to a video? What is it that you want to know about the environmental benefits of open woodland restoration? Don't be shy. And as you're calling them out, my colleague Rowan is going to be grabbing these inputs and we're going to be capturing them for synthesis into the co-design. So please, somebody,
So
oh,
I'm going
Rowan.
to take the opportunity to say good day to everyone. Hello. Hey, Wardy, I thought you might share the screen and kind of walk us down the page. Don't
Yeah,
mind
would that
about
be
my job.
helpful for everybody? Because I know it's hard to look at my screen and look at your own web page. Would you like to see a shared screen or would you like to work on your own screens? If you come off mute, really, I want to hear from you.
Chair,
Share for Delia. Okay,
chair,
excellent.
I
All right.
chair.
Bear with me. So I'll make I don't know if you can all see your heads on the right hand side, but I'll take you away. What we're looking at in this next 5 minutes from 12:46 to 12:51 is the about page. So this is saying what open woodland restoration is, and we've got a slider or a PDF that attempts to describe what open woodland restoration is as a link from the homepage. We then have some content. This is Top Yarraman, James Campbell's farm, and it's got the direct seeding that you can see applied to it across this cleared landscape. We also then want to, because this is about environmental benefits, talk to the large threatened ecological community that is box gum grassy woodlands. There's the opportunity on this page to hear Jeff Kay, who's a pioneering farmer and an ecologist, who actually came up with that design of the tram track, big space tram track, and tried it out on his own farm back in 2015 and pioneered that process, getting it through the carbon regulator. And then we've got here environmental projects so that you can, come to this co-design session. We're putting in some proof points. We are working with a lot of local organizations because they see that this is an opportunity to stack financial productivity, social and environmental benefits. And there's a bit of a history about where all this began, a bit of a profile of all of the farmers, how this eventuated through a landscape impact program. And then we talked to on the about page, our core, kind of layers, I guess, more productive at every layer, carbon, biodiversity, and productivity. And then there's an opportunity to go back to that slider that was at the top of the page. So this is the website, and what I'd like to do in the remaining 3 minutes is have you, uh, you know, tell us what's missing. What do you want to see right up front? If you're thinking if you're thinking as a first-time user, which some of you are, or a really experienced woodlands ecologist, you will have a different perspective, but they're all valued. What do you want to see when you come to openwoodlandsrestoration.com? Rosemary, you and I have had some really interesting discussions over email. Would you care to share your perspective on what you've seen there as the homepage and Open Woodland Restoration?
Yes. Look, I'm still thinking about it because, that's a specific question. My feeling is I'd be wanting to know, yes, more about the plantings, what like I'm thinking the biological diversity, and you mentioned, and I just noticed that you're going through, you're mentioning some of the animal species, and I was just thinking, yes, but some of those we won't be able to return, what would have been here initially, like that we had a lot of burrowing small mammals and that sort of thing, and they're not, going to be part. In my view, they can't be part of this because you need a different process for restoring those to the environment. And so, as an ecologist, I'd just like to see more about what components, if you like, of the biodiversity are likely to be restored. Because obviously, if you're keeping productivity, you're going to have compromises and trade-offs, and there will be some there. If as I've said to you, I'm interested in rewilding my property, and this isn't quite the same.
But Rosemary, the reason I'm so enjoying it is because I think we both agree that compared to cleared land, open woodland restoration provides an economical way for farmers to move in the right direction, and high value, pristine biodiversity, I think will have an emerging market as well for exactly the same reasons as you value it. Our native species are endangered, and so I think that's possibly tapping into it, additional markets and opportunities that come from biodiversity down the track. It's great. Um, Joe, you're never shy of a word. What do we need to put on here for environmental benefits?
Look, I'm happy to put in my 2 cents, but I wasn't going to go first just because, yeah, I don't want to take the limelight. I think for me, I'm pretty familiar with this concept and this website, so um, it's hard for me to give some comment as like an initial viewer. But I think for me, the bit that's really hidden, which should be kind of above the fold, front and center, is really the key slides in that introduction piece. That little slider box that talks about some of the productivity sweet spot, some of the design function, how how it hits the biodiversity, the economic, and the environmental goals. I think they're the real key pieces that people should be able to get in their head in the first 20 seconds. And then a little bit more, some of the detail that's on that landing page is requires a lot of brain power to kind of digest. So maybe that's me being, a little bit hungry for the detail. But yeah, I think the slides you've got in the introductory piece are really valuable, and I'd like to see that front and center.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to volunteer a comment? And then we're actually going to go and look at another page on the website after the about page. But on that home page/about page,
So, Andrew, can you put that page back up so that I make sure I'm commenting on the correct page?
yes, it's under the
Yeah,
title
this one
about,
here.
but
Okay.
it's the home page. Yeah.
All right. So I've never seen this page before, so I'm a brand new user looking at it.
Yep.
And my first response was, what do you actually mean by open woodland restoration, and who are you targeting this at? Because, maybe it's a question that you should be asking, which is, are you someone interested in X, or are you trying to do Y on your property? If so, this could be a project for you, because at the moment it's a lovely picture, but you're actually not communicating with me about what it is that you could potentially offer.
And that's brilliant. Thank you very much. If you have other comments on the about page, the chat function is there, and we have a brilliant scribe in Rowan. What I'd like to do, though, is keep us moving, because we actually want to cover a fair amount of ground today. So you can probably see my screen without me going. So we have a page. It's currently called Map Your Farm, and I will bring it up. But the idea of this is that it's a way to describe the environmental opportunity on the farm and encourage visitors to get a snapshot, what we call a snapshot of their own farm. So the role now for the next 5 minutes is to review this particular link, and I'll post it in the chat. And again, calling out, being off mute, what is missing or not helpful, and to get you thinking about this. Like we've thought that simple, fast. So we've taken away things like needing someone to put in a username and a password or a mobile phone number, just to be able to help get their boundary and get it back to them. But does that look like convenience, or does that look like it's a bit dodgy or something like that? So really looking for your inputs, and I'm going to, like we did last time, show you that page from top to bottom and show you how it works. So this should be talking to the environmental benefits, map your farm. As you can imagine, model your grazing impacts would be about productivity, and modeling financial impacts about, finance. And we will be running co-design sessions on these pages and what they should talk about. But today it's about the environmental benefit. And at the moment, we've got Map Your Farm. And you're welcome to do this whilst we're talking, especially landholders like Dahlia, Laurie. If you put in your name and your email address, and I won't put in my James, do you recall the address that I'm putting in? Going to put in that. And what that enables me to do is zoom in on a map, select my cadastral boundaries, and then, because we're trying to understand, are we talking with pioneers, early adopters? We don't actually understand what the motivator for people are coming to open woodland restoration. So we're asking, what financial return is required on new practices? Is it high, medium, low? Not important, but that might be for rosemary, for example. How important is environmental condition? Critical, very key, minor, not important. Again, Depends on the landholder and where they are. What is your approach to productivity? Status quo, skeptical, pragmatic, competitive? What describes your roles? So I'm just going to go here and identify that I'm an early adopter, and that has selected my parcels, and I press submit. Now, the expectation is that 24 hours after you've done what we've just seen me do on screen, you will be sent a snapshot, and we will review the snapshot page by page next. But for now, if we could spend 5 minutes at the Map Your Farm, which really should be talking about encouraging visitors to get a snapshot and describing the environmental opportunity on their farm and why that's worth investigating.
Andrew, a follow-up question?
Yes, Ant?
You're probably going to answer this later on, but if I'm looking for some support and some ideas about what I can do on my farm, what interest is it to me in providing you with information about whether or not I'm an early adopter or where I would fit in that bell curve, unless you are going to target particular practices and interventions to my motivation in that area? Because I would have thought that my motivation for trying to do something for the environment was not directly related to whether I consider myself to be an early adopter. So I'm just a bit confused about why you are requiring that information. And from a privacy perspective, I'd go, none of your business.
Right.
Okay, so you've got to sell to me what is the benefit of me giving you that information, and you haven't told me you're going to tailor this information back to me based on that response. So you need to tell me why you're doing that.
And this is exactly the question that we're actually asking. And so currently that page has been set up specifically for the purposes of meeting our current project that we have that's being funded by the Commonwealth Government. We haven't yet populated the page with exactly the information that you're looking for, as in, why am I being asked to do this? It kind of assumes you're landing on the page and going, oh, right, I'm ready to go. So in a sense, that's exactly the question, is like, what do we need to tell you in order to encourage you to go and to complete the map? The questions underneath are specific to the project that we're undertaking, but we agree that we need to address that as well.
Thank you, Rowan. Christoph, you had your hand up, and then Peter.
Yeah, be the same reaction as Anne, which is, why are you asking me that? It's not clear. But also, I was trying to answer the questions in the 4 boxes. Found that hard. I don't know what I am. Am I experimental? I am pragmatic. I don't know, honestly. And also, is environmental condition important? Yes, it always is, but it depends what the trade-off is. So I find the questions a bit hard to answer.
And maybe could I infer that they're not related to environmental benefit, so they look a bit weird and out of context. And that has been the case, which is why, just so we could meet a condition of the grant. But we can and will take your feedback to put into this page what will make better sense. Peter, can I get your feedback?
A couple of comments. One, it's very hard to view on a phone. It's fine if you're on a laptop, but a lot of time we're doing a bit of research or searching for stuff using a phone. This is very difficult. But I think what you do with the information that we enter is really important to state up front. I'm always going to be reluctant to enter any personal information into a website or a report if I don't know where the information is going to be stored, how it might be used in the future. So if I see that, I'm not going to enter anything.
That's good. I think that's why we were trying to make it so, we need an email to send you back your report, but otherwise you were under no obligation, um, uh, to share anything, like a phone number or set up an account, etc. But I take your point. If it's not clear, what's this information being used for, and who, am I transferring any rights? Hopefully the answer is no, you're not transferring any rights at all. You're just getting a map and a snapshot. Yeah. Um, any other inputs on that page?
Well, just following on from that, it's, who's going to see it? Who's going to see this data?
Good question. So the land care, or like the partners in this open woodland restoration project, we're sharing like, okay, well, for the next few months, which of us are getting what sort of response rate and call to action around social or around environmental or financial or productive. The idea being that before we go, and try and scale this, we actually have data backed kind of understanding about, well, does land care respond to the environmental benefits calls to action, whilst elders is responding to the financial or the productivity call to action? And nobody has ever been able to kind of piece those call to action times channel together. And this is an opportunity in the next few months to test what works with what sort of audience, so that we're actually, hopefully providing the right content at the right time. Yeah.
I was just thinking too about the question relating to mapping your farm property. Who is going to see that data?
Well, no one needs see it except for us to process and send back to you your snapshot. But the data that we're using is publicly available data. There's nothing proprietary about it. Yeah, so all the responses in your snapshot come from a platform for nature repair, or planner.gov.au, and then are formatted into the snapshot report. And you've got your hand up. And then
Yeah, it was just a follow-on question from Rosemary, and I'm trying to be helpful about this. So, one of the things could be that, there is a statement which is about the individual will get a tailored report on their particular farm, which will be beneficial, blah, 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 blah. So you've told me the benefits of me providing you with my information. But you might also want something to say that aggregated information, which is de-identified, is provided to government sources or whatever as required. So that trying to find a balance between, people giving you information, but it's aggregated information. So individuals aren't then identified through X, Y, and Z, unless you've got an opt-in and you wanted, land care to specifically follow up with you, etc. Maybe a way of juggling that dilemma.
Perfect. Hey, can I take us back to something, Anne, you said on the homepage, which was around wanting to know more about the plantings or what the components of a restored landscape might look like?
Yeah.
That sort of question, it is better addressed, sorry, it might be Rosemary, but better addressed on this page, in terms of this page is supposed to be talking about the environmental impact, or would you prefer to see it on the home page?
So I looked at the first page. I didn't go through the rest of the slides, and it was that lovely picture. And that was really what I was responding to. It's a lovely picture, but I've got to work to find the ribbon at the top to say I want to go into about or whatever to find out some more information. And then you gave me more information as I as I could see Andrew scrolling through the pages. But that first one, to me, my first reaction was, what a lovely picture. And who are you targeting?
Yeah.
Who's your target audience? And is this of interest to me? Because you, as a user, you're making me work by either having to find the ribbon at the top, or then I've got to do 2 more scrolls. You've got me for about 15 seconds to look at a page and then go, yep, I'm going to engage with this or not. So I'm looking at that page and going, nice picture, and so that was the feedback I was trying to give you. Your first page is beautiful, but you're not giving me, I didn't feel incentivized to then go searching for the next lot of information I was looking at. It wasn't appealing to me saying, are you a landholder wanting to do X, Y, and Z? Are you interested in Y? There's just some little questions, continue to look on this page. So it was just your beautiful picture page that I was responding to.
Thank you, Anne.
Does that help, Rowan?
Yep.
Okay.
Can I just
please.
very quickly to add something to that comment from Anne Wardy, I'll be really quite quick. I think it's what you can say without words as well. So if you know the kind of person you're trying to get adoption with, having an image that shows that person in that header image that they can identify with and go, oh, they're just like me, they're farmers walking through the paddock, or is it a retiree couple walking down the boulevard holding hands, or is it someone in an office shirt with a computer in front of themselves? The will to go forward and read more is bought, I think, by saying, oh, I can identify with that picture in terms of they're just like me, I'll read on.
Yep. Thank you. I will get us to move now to the snapshot because again, I'm going to use a Miro board and I'll paste that in the chat. I'll show you how Miro works, but the idea is that we're going to go through this Miro board and on this board are the 6 pages of a current snapshot. And so a current snapshot would identify the farm border. It looks to provide observations and next steps. The habitat and land health. So what's the biodiversity condition score? And what's the carbon sequestration potential? And what areas of the farm are eligible or ineligible for carbon projects? Now, we're going to use a feature of Miro, and it looks like a post-it note because it is, and you can choose whatever color post-it note you want to do, and you can put that post-it note on top of the slide that you want to provide feedback to. And as an example, you could write feedback, I like blue backgrounds. Or I want to know X, Y, or Z, and I'm not getting it from this. So without any further ado, I'm going to share this board link, and I'd like you all to come through and navigate. And what we might do is we might start with slide 1. And I think, James, correct me if I'm right, but this is actually slide 1 is the potential area and existing tree cover.
No, the boundary without the pink shading. So furthest to
This one?
the right. Yes, that one.
Excellent. So I can see that we've got 6 of you. Great. More coming. And if you can navigate your way here, just let me know if you find it possible to put a post-it note.
You can press a button to bring everyone to that point.
Yes, I can. I've just got to remember what that button is. Do you remember what that button is?
I think
most people are here anyway.
There's a zoom button to help you navigate the zoom function down in the lower right-hand side for
and
all
somebody's
the other users.
Oh, excellent. Rowan, you've put their feedback there. And this zoom button, sorry, zoom in. Yep. And how do I bring people to me, James?
I can't remember that one, Morty.
Neither can I. But if you make your way to the farm snapshot, what we're going to do is I was thinking we should do this one slide at a time, but perhaps it's worthwhile each of us going through a report and understanding, okay, how does each page build on the previous page to give me a better idea of my opportunity. And then it might be worthwhile going, well, is this page achieving its function, and going through page by page? Would that be helpful for everybody to have 2 minutes to review?
Sure.
Yeah. Now, would you like me to have it up on screen as in addition to being able to use the Miro board yourselves? Joe, you've got your hand up, mate.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, how does the user arrive at this set of pages?
This is what, if you've completed the map your farm, where you've been able to provide us with the boundary layer, your
Yeah.
name and your email address,
And
well,
you
then
hit submit.
you hit submit. And the process in the background is that comes to James Dyack, who's online here. James takes the boundary and interrogates Planner, which is the platform
Yeah.
for nature repair. And from that, we produce the conditions, the snapshot.
Would you like to just show everyone again the going to the note, or copy some notes across? Right.
Pardon, mate?
All right. So I'm just going to do this.
So, Wardy, just on that, who is the viewer of this? Is this the actual farmer, or is this just James?
This is James has compiled it, and then he sends it via email to the farmer within 24 hours from when they've entered their boundary into the website.
Right. So this doesn't open up on another website. This is basically the format of the report that gets delivered.
This is the PDF report that gets delivered.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, it's not a website. It's a PDF. It contains only their information that they've provided, and it's the relevant information around biodiversity condition score, eligible areas, carbon sequestration potential across their farm.
I've just put some page numbers up there. Just the pages are slightly out of order. It runs from right to left, with the exception of the first pages on the most left.
Oh, well, I can just drag that page across.
Yep.
So this page one, it's actually all the way. And then people comment there. Oh, we've been moving pages around. Okay. We're getting there, people. All right. So, yes, Ron?
This might be one where we can possibly do it. I can see lots of people moving around. There's not a lot of notes. And so either we continue with the note taking this way, or I can just take notes and we can go through each of the pages individually. It may be, and once people have had a chance to look at
a page. I see Peter being amused. Does that make sense to you, Peter?
Well, I guess I was moving around and I thought I might have put a note in, but I'm not sure. But I suppose the note that I was trying to make is that I'm not sure whether it was first screen or several others after that, sort of highlighting what some of the natural features are. But also it's a bit hard on those to actually see anything about elevation. And sometimes with yes, why does there happen to be timbered areas? Sometimes has to do with a particularly elevated site or something like that. So yeah, just a bit more around that would be helpful.
That's good.
This may be much easier to do, actually. I can assume that everybody around the table has now had a look at the snapshot. And I can just ask you guys, what's missing? If you were to be looking for a quick way of knowing the environmental benefits of open woodland restoration, and you went to a website, gave your boundary up, so that you could get back a snapshot, a report about the value of your land with respect to open woodland restoration, what do you want to see and in what order? Amber, are you on a trackpad or a mouse?
I'm on a mouse. Yeah, I can zoom, but all I can see is people going everywhere, and yeah, I just can't actually maneuver around to actually see
Right.
anything.
Right click and hold with a PC. Amber, if you have a Mac, I'm not sure, or wherever right click is on a Mac.
Got it. I never use my right click, I only ever use the left.
Also here for tech support. Thank you, James. You're a lifesaver. Doug, I don't know, we've had a few chances to chat, and you've obviously got huge biodiversity covenants and things from when it was the university farm. But what's your what would you like to see from a snapshot? I've picked on somebody on mute, so this is a gamble. Is Doug there? Laurie, I might go to you then. Oh, no audio. That's all right, Doug. Laurie, are you available to chat?
I am. I was just looking at this and I'm thinking a little bit more about case study type, where it's got more annotation per slide. You know, like I like to follow it from end to end.
Yep.
I'm seeing now just sort of snapshots, and I'm thinking I'm really having to put together what the actual case study is in my own head. And my preference would be to understand a case study if if somebody's prepared to give that up and just say, at the end of this is the results that I got, and maybe it's advanced enough to say, this is the benefit that I achieved. I think people want to see more tangibility in terms of what those benefits would be. I don't want to just say I grew more trees or I put trees here. I want to see what's the financial benefit that I could reap from that.
That's awesome, Laurie. And I hope that particularly the pages model your finances and model your productivity. We'll talk to those as well. Environmentally, what's going to move the dial for you? Is it love of the bush, future habitat restoration, native species protection, biodiversity of a species you love, a reptile like a snake or a bird or something? What moves the needle for you around environmental benefits?
Well, whilst we love the bush and we love the natives and so forth, we're in the farming business here. How do I make money? Let's just be quite fundamental here. Everything becomes a sort of a subset to that. We're going through. I've got a lot of lantana on my land. I've sprayed it. I've pulled some of it out. I actually want to try and recover that land for its natural. To see the natives survive, but equally to increase my pasture. So I think some people have got some unique situations, and a case study may not always cover every absolute component of that. But to be selfish, we're in the farming business. Let's be fair dinkum. The world's in a mess at the moment. And we want to be able to produce beef and sell it and so forth. And we're going through a drought at the moment. And I can't see us flipping out. I mean, the Bureau of Meteorology is just worthless piece of shit. They change every 5 minutes and it's worth nothing.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to be able to solve all of those problems, but Laurie, that was really interesting. Like a case study of the benefits was what I took away from that. Amber, you've got your hand up. And you're on mute.
Sorry, I just thought I'd take a quick moment to expand. Laurie, I hear you. I'm in the same boat. And maybe just to expand on that, and this probably comes up later, I'd like to see some scientific evidence supporting some of these native pastures and things. So some of these native grasses, if we're going to go and implement this restoration into our farming landscape, what's my productivity of those grasses? Can I put 1.5 kilos on a lamb a day, or are they simply good for a dry maintenance ration over the summer in my ewes? how does that then integrate into my farming business, or does it not? Because at the end of the day, if I can't get rid of my lands in 6 months, over the hook to the works, it's probably not going to integrate into the business, and that means no lamb on the customer's table. So that's probably a really important thing is, okay, this is what we want to do. How can we integrate various parts of this into a system? And it might have to be bits and pieces here and there, I'm thinking. I can't imagine that native grasses are going to solely replace the lucens and clovers and some of the improved pastures we have. So how does that all work together? It is a question that I would like to see answered at some stage down the track with all this research that's happening.
That's great feedback, Amber. There's sort of two things that come to mind. One is that the large spacing in between the rows enables you to have native pastures or potentially improved pastures. But the challenge if you go with improved pastures in that intervening row, like between the tram tracks, is you won't qualify for potentially the same level or quality of biodiversity. And boxgum grassy woodlands is kind of obviously you see the trees, but ecologically and more subtly, it's the grass species and having 14 or more native grasses, not the woodland trees, that makes boxgum grassy woodlands an ecological community that's under threat. So I would suggest to you that there's like a fork. You can go for boxgum grassy woodlands and the derived native grasses, and that opens up ecological benefits and biodiversity markets around that threatened ecological community. Or you could have improved pastures that maybe too much dominate, but from an ecological perspective, but makes sense financially. And there's just a decision point that farmers would need to come to around what their pasture mix is. And they probably need some data around that, which I think was your original point. Rosemary, you've got your hand up.
Yes, look, just going back to the feedback you get when you've submitted your farm data. And my question sort of when I got back was, I got a rating for the current biodiversity score and compared with the regional average. And I'd just like to see more information around that. Like my question was, well, why does it fall below the average, for example? Because in my own mind, some things were better than what I might have thought were average. So, and also perhaps how or what the rating for able to sequester carbon, what that's actually based on. I just sort of felt I need a bit more information to assess whether I want to go on to the next stage. Like where am I lacking? What do I need to improve on?
So this is great. We kind of we could have a page in the snapshot that where do these numbers come from kind of page, and explain how FullCAM, which is the full carbon abatement models carbon sequestration, and how the biodiversity condition score, which comes from the nature repair market and is used for demonstrating improvements to nature repair, where it's derived from. And that could even click through to the references, the scientific literature that underpins that. But yeah, we didn't really provide the reference. We just provided literally the graphic and what your score is. But we can provide that. Yeah.
Well, not everyone will want that, but for people who do, you like to know a bit more.
Yeah, that's reasonable. Christoph, you've got your hand up. You're on mute.
Sorry, I was fumbling with mute. Quick question on page 6. Is that an actual picture of the end state?
Uh,
Want
is
me to
that
answer that,
Page
Morty?
6.
yeah, please, James.
Yeah. So this is not an actual picture, Christoph, because we don't have a mature example that's 25 30 years old, because this has only been around for a little while. So this is a artist's impression that we've generated of it.
Bravo. Maybe the artist should think about the fact that there's a bit more than 5 meters between the canopies.
Thank you. Yeah. Um, I think we have the opportunity, but looking at what Jeff Kay has the most mature version of this, but there are similar whole of paddock designs with whoppers, which was really popular with some organic and permaculture designers, planting designers, which probably show the tram tracks and the results of more mature things. And we probably are missing imagery of what's it end up looking like, you know. Neville, you've been chatting way too much. Like we're sick of hearing from you, mate. But
Yeah, my wife has gone away now. Listen, have you ever thought of pivoting into this renewables? Because I work in the sector, and renewables are probably going to be my next gateway. So we have about 700 hectares of old scale box gum woodland here that my ancestors settled over 140 years ago. It's still original. So I'm not really much effect to you today, but and it's been heavily assessed over the years, and I've been right through the biobanking, biodiversity offsets with Energy Co and various other stakeholders, and never going to step into a BSA. But renewables are a thing that will pivot me into the ability to privately operate that as an offset when I can afford it. And I was just wondering if that's part of your raison d'etre. And also, Andrew, I'm a novice. First welcome here to you. I didn't understand who funded you. What was your foundation? I didn't see the footprints of your pillars, and I didn't know the federal government was behind this. So I was really wondering, what am I dealing with? Is it a, where's my data going if I fill in this and so on? So I felt that I was a little bit naive when we kicked off with this, and that's just a first blush response.
awesome. Would you like me to address any of those points? Like,
I know I've got it now because I've
You got
learned it as you've been presenting. Let's not double back on it, but just a thought. And I tried to do some study, but it didn't fill in the gaps. And there was something about, I'll put it in the chat, or there is a comment or two about the web pages that are not yet remarked up. I'll pop it in.
Thank you, Neville. Have I missed anybody for feedback? James?
There's one thing you haven't really spoken to, Audie, that
Yep.
this so this snapshot is intended as exactly that, like it's based on publicly available information and supposed to be a stepping stone to, if you want more information that's tailored to your farm, that you can have an advisor undertake a feasibility assessment. So you haven't really spoken to the process that someone might go through, and kind of place this in the context of how much are we trying to educate people with this document versus what they need potentially, next step.
Yeah, great point. And I guess our website doesn't do that either. So this is a snapshot at a farm level. You can't do a carbon project with this information. You can't do a biodiversity project with this information. It's really high level. But what it does is it's back of the napkin. Is this worth investing more of my time, effort, energy into? And if it is investing more time, effort, energy, okay, hopefully what this has done is shown me where are the highest sequestration or biodiversity condition score areas on my farm to look at. Now, we're going to talk to this a bit later, but we currently have, and Neville, this might explain how we're funded as well. We got back in 2024 New South Wales High Impact Partnership. And in that process, we ran a landscape impact program in the Southern Tablelands. And in that process, those farmers identified Open Woodlands Restoration. So we've delivered about 40 odd $1,000 feasibility assessments, looking at individual project areas and whether they make financial sense. Then a lot of those farmers have then had access to $10,000 grants that get them CER registered. And it's been through that process that Jeff and Chris and Jim were able to establish the 3 open woodlands restoration projects over the last 3 years. At the beginning of this year, we won another New South Wales grant, and we're just a few months into it. The first piece being engagement, but ultimately the idea is to systemize and help scale open woodland restoration because it's a farmer-led initiative and we're Regen Farmers Mutual. And so our opportunity is to help farmers in the Southern Tablelands identify where this is suitable. Yeah. And so the data that we're using and collecting for the feds is really the NRM region, which is Southeast Local Land Services. And they're looking at, well, how do we improve environmental market participation? Is it through social, environmental, productivity, or financial motivators? And does that change depending on the audience? And so a lot of what we've done to date in this first few months of this grant has been satisfying grant conditions, but we know that this engagement piece we're going to use to do co-design so that the next 2.5 years, we're putting out really good, hopefully data-backed messaging that hits the right sort of audiences and gives them what they need. And that's the purpose of today.
Andrew, I've accidentally hit some button and I can't get the screen to go back to Zoom on. Sorry. Where am I supposed to go? It's all gone blank and I'm not quite sure where I'm supposed to be.
I think, have you pressed escape? Are you working on a Mac or a PC?
No, PC.
And if you just press escape, does it reduce that page or window?
No.
So you're just
And
looking
I just don't want to keep hitting buttons and finding out I've just logged myself. I think I've just logged myself out. Oh no, I can't be if you can still hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
And you could try holding down the Alt key and tapping the Tab key, and that should cycle through the applications that are open.
Okay, thank you. Right.
Well
Good.
played,
I've got it
James.
back. Okay, that's all good. Thank you very much for that. I was trying to put my hand up to say I think managing expectations is really important because some of the comments that I've put on in the yellow stickies has been about, well, can you do this and can you do that? And what about this option? And, what are my next steps? And can we overlay it with other information? So you need to manage up front, which says, this is your introduction to see whether or not you want to take this further, where there's a whole lot of other resources or something available to you. Because at the moment, my expectation was this report I'm going to get is going to be able to be tailored specifically to me and that I can engage with it, and it's going to take me to I would expect a lot more out of it than what I think you are now indicating is what's going to happen. So again, you need some sort of statement up front, which is to manage my expectations. This is an introduction to get you across, get understanding, and then if you want to do more, then you can do more.
That is awesome feedback. Thank you, Anne. And it's a blinding flash of the obvious. There's so many of these good pieces of feedback. I'm going to move us along. Timing of the essence. So thank you, everybody. We're going to continue to work on that snapshot. So I think we've gone through each page. What did we see? What do we want to change? And we're now going to review who's in the room. So if you're okay with it, from our 13 responses.
So you want everyone to come back to Zoom? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, if you could all come back to Zoom. Pardon. You all seeing my screen?
Yep.
So most of the room is farmers between us, a bit 53%. 15% are others, 23% advisors and land care facilitators. And people are interested in helping others and woodlands and learning what they can do. So this has been great. We're going to now go into the next uh, quiz. So again, I'll just put the link in the chat. This one is likely to take a little bit longer than the previous one. And oh, not that one. I just want to hold the QR code up for a bit longer so that you can use your phone to press on that QR code or use the link that we provided in the chat. And then if you could complete that, that would be awesome. There's about 7 questions and it should take 10 minutes. So we'll try and pull up with or give you 7 minutes. Pull up at 1:45.
You might well just lift it up for. Okay.
Get out.
And I hope that was a cat or a dog and not a husband. Thank you. Some of you are starting to submit, which is great. I often find it's really interesting. It's the things that we didn't ask you about that you should tell us about. That last question. What didn't we ask that you're busting to tell us? Please don't be shy. We've got a couple more minutes here. We want to hear what what you're thinking. whilst whilst you're filling that in, I might just share with you how the results are shaping up. Would that be of interest to you guys?
Sure.
So obviously, as we're all answering, it's changing the responses that we've got. But the most significant benefit for farmers is considered biodiversity, then habitat restoration, carbon. This will vary. Yeah. How should we communicate? Website and land care networks. And then peer networks and social media look to be fairly evenly spaced. Is there mediums we should not associate with? Politics, chem companies, chem suppliers twice. Are there organisations we should seek to associate with? LLS, BCT, Landcare, Maloon, NRM. Great. What would you be interested in? Practical results, better, easier way to understand, financial outcomes. What type of content would you like to be able to send? Is there somewhere I can ask a dumb question? Yeah, whoever said that, then of course, please, this is the co-design session for dumb questions.
We've spoken about how we enable that on a website, because we have one of the things that I suppose we haven't really spoken about Regen Farmers Mutual much. So Regen Farmers Mutual's, a farmer-owned co-op basically, and we have people in our network who are experts in, like Christoph, who are leading experts in Australia for carbon markets. And so we've spoken about how we can kind of enable people to ask questions in a way that's you can get a response from someone like Christoph without having to pay someone to come and provide specific advice. So that idea of being able to go somewhere and ask a dumb question is a really good one.
The kind of peer-to-peer thing that we've benefited so much from our members' knowledge is that, two staff, Rowan. So yeah. All right, we're going to keep moving. Thank you so much for completing that. We've now had 10 responses to that. And I'll just check. Still biodiversity, habitat restoration, carbon is quite a distant. Website, Landcare networks. Great. So thank you very much. Next steps. So we're very fortunate to be the beneficiaries of some New South Wales government funds that can help farmers that through a snapshot might be aware that they have a farm level opportunity, but might not be able to financially afford to check out whether there's a project level feasibility, and certainly might not be willing to put up the 10K or more that's required for a project level design. There is a short-term opportunity to use New South Wales high impact partnership funding to support landholders to do feasibility at a project level and design at a project level should that CER project be, a serious prospect. We will open that up to everybody who watches this video. We're going to include the link and who's participated here today, and whoever gets in the relevant time period one of the snapshots, they'll also be followed up by James and or elders and or their land care facilitator to know that these grants are available. I want you to know that we're going to integrate your feedback from today that we've captured on the Miro board, that we've got in the chat, that we've got through the video. And we're going to update the website, the snapshot as a result of that. We're going to be continuing to test our grazing and productivity and financial return through ACCUs at different sessions, co-design sessions. Similar to this, they will be a give-get format where you give us some time and you'll get some benefit as a result of this. So everybody here should now be able to do a map my farm process or describe the map my farm process and have confidence that within 24 hours you'll have back from that process of putting in your location what are the environmental already wooded areas, what areas are cleared and might be eligible therefore for a carbon project, what that carbon sequestration potential is worth, what is your biodiversity condition score and how does that compare to the average? And as a result of those bits of information, you can work out whether there is like a average of, a better chance of a project for you or a lesser chance of a project for you and whether it's suitable or not at this stage. So the next session that we're running is after doing 100, what we hope of these snapshots between now and the 30th of April, we're going to look at the give-get around the 4 opportunity pools. So clearly there are biodiversity and carbon markets. There are emerging supply chain deals, local economy opportunities, and public good opportunities. And we are dealing with a product that's going to require a funding gap because it's unreasonable as it is to ask farmers to outlay for design and preparation of a project, fences, destock for a few years while the trees grow, and then wait, 10, 13, 17 years until they break even on a project. And so we're going to talk to how we take those environmental impacts that we've discovered from those 100 snapshots and turn that into a discussion about what is it worth and how do we make it happen. So I can see a hand up. Joe. Oh, yeah, Joe, please.
Of course, it's me. Woody, can you just put up on the screen again that view of the graph about return on investment?
Yeah, sure.
Because I'm pretty intimate with that as a concept, but when I looked at this graphic before, I find it really confusing, and I think less is more. So which am I meant to be looking at? The red bars or the blue bars, or am I meant to be looking at the yellow line? Like I think if we can pull some of that out, that detail out to make it simpler, and so your eye can interpret that in 5 seconds instead of 2 minutes, that would help.
Really good feedback. And I thought you were going to mention that we're going to do next month's co-design as a in real world and online event. So
I wasn't going to surprise everyone with that. I'll leave that in your hands. But yeah, there's a willingness from the elders side in Goulburn to be a host venue for that webinar, so it'll still be online. But we'll give an opportunity for local landholders to come in and put a bum on a seat as well if they prefer to talk to Woody and others directly.
Anne, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I'm a bit just another question, and that is, when you look at these individually, is there the option? So I'm a small landholder. I don't have a particularly large holding, but I'm interested in doing something. But it might be worthwhile if I could link up with other people in my local area who are also interested in doing it. So in and of itself, my property may not fit your criteria, but if there was myself and say 3 of my neighbours were all looking to do something, that might be an option. So I don't know whether that is something you've thought about, or is there some way that we could facilitate that?
I think that community is so important. What we've found with aggregation of small landholders and Regen Farmers Mutual, the key insight was there are a lot of smaller farmers. So if we can aggregate them, do they get the economic scales of economy, right? Economies of scale. And what we found was there's still like a sort of minimum of 20 hectares that's needed for carbon markets. But what we're seeing in biodiversity markets is much smaller. And biodiversity markets linked to proximity, connectivity, and intactness as variables that drive value. And it's precisely when you coordinate and have project areas with proximity, connectivity, and intactness and raising them in a coordinated landscape scale where I think the best biodiversity outcomes and the highest rewards for biodiversity condition improvement will come. So, and the question is, yes, we can help aggregate. However, there's still some scale that's required to pay back the cost of fences. That mean for carbon markets, you're looking at 20 hectares or more. But for biodiversity markets, it's landscape scale that really ticks the box. And that is where aggregation and coordination and connectivity really come into their own. But those markets are so immature with no compelled buyer at this point. You're really ahead of the curve on that one. You're a pioneer.
No, thank you.
Andrew, on the carbon side of things, I thought aggregation caused a lot of complexities.
It does. One of the most obvious is who's the proponent. And so we're very clear at the mutual that the farmer is the proponent, not the mutual or a third party. The reason being is under 200 hectares, if you're a self-proponent, you're not having to do a series of 3 audits. Whereas if you're the farmer, but you've got another person as the proponent, then that person would have to do 3 audits through the course of the 25 years. And those audits are expensive and they'll take out the margin. We're here to support our farmers making more money out of their environmental assets and improvements, not trying to stand in the way of them make more money. So we support self-proponents. But we help the aggregation at a legal, technical, financial basis, so we can help them access finance as if they're a group as opposed to an individual. We can help them understand the technology and the linkages of their biodiversity that they probably wouldn't get access to that expertise on their own. So there's lots of technical, legal, and financial aggregation. But yeah, you wouldn't put a third party organization as the proponent if the hectares are under 200, hectares, because you're opening yourself up to a costly audit process. But that's digging into sort of other content outside of the environmental benefit. We have done good time. We have 5 minutes, and I always think it's in the last thing that people say that is usually the most high value, because the brain relaxes and these ideas just pop into your head. So I'd like to do a quick run around. And the question I'm going to ask you is, what can we do to better promote the environmental benefit of open woodland restoration? And if you could go around and give a quick response, maybe 10 seconds each. Who'd like to go first? Otherwise, I'll nominate you.
10 seconds won't cut it.
10 seconds. Oh, Neville, you go first then, and the rest of us will fit.
Well, I'm not going to deliver it in 10 seconds. Just I would like to know an introduction. Sorry, I might have missed at the beginning an introduction of actually who you are. I'd love to know the host. So I'm sorry, I'm a bit naive not knowing who I'm dealing with. That's my ignorance. The thing I've noticed is just that having studied the biobanking thing for over 20 years and having been really in close with it and stepping back, I do know the passion that everybody brings to the table today. And if we could stop the corporate farms that are near me doing the clearing, would be good. I mean, the hectares of old growth trees that have just been eliminated from farming paddocks in the last 18 months is staggering. They're getting away with it. I do think renewables have a great component. They do in wind because it's low impact, a small percentage of the footprint involved. And on my property has had some of the best ecologists in Australia here. But it's amazing what they found. And the biodiverse country is the box gum grassy woodland, where there's yellow box, Blakely's red gum, and white box. and it's staggering what is living there. And we live with a plethora of endangered species. If you can do it, ladies and gentlemen, you are really bringing an asset back to Australia that is going to host the critical best of us forever. That's my advice. Get that box gum woodland. And I mean grasslands. They're being sprayed out of existence in Australia. We need the grasslands for the granivore birds.
I want to say here. Rosemary, can I get a final comment from you, please? Closing comment.
Look, I need time to sort of put it all together, really, Andrew. But, one of the things I'm thinking in my mind is I feel farmers perhaps, need some overview of how it all goes together. And that's what I'm trying to think about.
Okay. Thank you. Anne.
I'm fascinated to see that we are all from such different backgrounds and perspectives. So I've really found the engagement talking about things to be quite stimulating and motivating. So thank you for everyone for participating. In terms of the environmental biodiversity query, I have a property that has a lot of exotic plants on it, and I'm trying to eliminate those exotic plants to bring back the wildlife and to feel like I have a legacy that I've been able to leave. So any information is helpful for me, but I've been really heartened over particularly the last 3 years, is that I've now got several families of echidnas back on my property, and I just adore watching these little puggles finding their way in the world. So that's been incredible. And I can just see that if we continue to eliminate the exotics and replant natives, that nature really does just need a bit of a boost to help come back. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Excellent. Peter, you're off mute. I'd grab you.
Yeah, obviously I should have done a little bit more homework and prepared myself a little bit better. But yeah, look, today's been kind of interesting listening to what everyone else has had to say. But I think lingering in there for me is still something of a confused message about, well, what are we actually aiming to do with this? Is it about the biodiversity, the environmental benefits? Are we talking carbon markets, financial returns on farm? There's a lot of sort of competing messages there. And yes, it might come down to the individual to decide, well, why am I actually doing this? But I guess I'd be looking for, if you're saying, well, how can you sell this? Perhaps a simplified, clearer message might help, perhaps.
Thank you, Peter. I'll take that. This is what we're trying to get, a sharper message with. We've now gone over 2 o'clock. I would encourage anyone who needs to leave, but if I could get your last minute pearls of wisdom, Joe and James and Rowan, and Christoph, I can access you later through, other means. But Amber, can I grab some feedback from you and Laurie and Delaire and Doug? Doug, you can write yours. Thank you. Thanks, Doug. Amber, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Look, thanks for today. I think we're all here because we all want the same thing. I think we all want to make the landscape better and bring back biodiversity. For me, and I think for many, the question is, how do we best do that? The government seems to think that farmers are going to have all the answers. Generally, we're asked to foot the bill for just about everything as well. So that's probably, as you know, where I have a lot of reservations. Maybe if they stop clearing all these big housing estates, I don't think we should just be blaming farmers for land clearing. There's a lot of that going on that the federal government signs off and then they ask us to fix all the problems. Sorry. Got to be a bit of a bee in my bonnet about the government at the moment, but look, I think there's some great work that we can do, and I'm sure it'll happen from those that have the ability to do so.
Thank you, Amber. Laurie.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. I think it's kind of ironic. I'm up in the upper Hunter where we have coal mining. But now we've got people who are wanting to do gas pipes, solar farms, and now another one's put in for a quarry for a bluestone. So we talk about all these things, and the government's always banging the drum, but they always seem to let these things go through. So we're up against that sort of thing, and it's almost like it's almost like abuse, if you like, where we have to keep putting up with these things. I don't know why the politicians and local authorities just don't go, forget it, don't even bother putting in an application. Because we keep talking about this. We've got land care, we've got local land services. We talk about the environment, we talk about biodiversity, and yet these are things that we have to go as a community and go and complain and have talk fests about it. But just disappointing.
Thank you, Laurie. Delia?
Probably I'm not your typical farmer. Basically, I've got a 280 acres, which is I treat it as a backyard. So I'm doing a lot of conservation and restoration work. I had some support like from the WOPA program and so on. What I'd like to get out for a program like this is some like financial benefit. I mean, I know probably will be covered in the financial workshop, but how can I increase my effort if I can, get a bit of support financially to do what I'm doing now, because I'm doing it without really any compensation or reward. I do it because I love it, and I would, like one of the speakers said, just walking in the paddock and seeing an echidna or seeing a lizard, that gives me pleasure. But if I can do more with some support, that would be great.
Thank you. And am I pronouncing Dillaire?
Yeah,
Dillaire?
correct. It's yeah. Thanks very much, Andrew. Yeah.
That's all right. And Doug can't talk to us because he's got problems with audio. Have I missed anybody out? Otherwise, we might call it a wrap for today. Look, thank you all so much for your time, and especially for giving us 5 minutes over. Really do appreciate that. It's different to coming to a presentation, being asked to give and get, try new technologies, being asked for your opinions. We really do value them, and they will help shape hopefully a better communication strategy going forward. Thank you.